What's going on, everybody? This is Lady Luck. All right. We got to address the buffoonery that is Novatech. I don't know if many of you noticed, but there was a hearing held on the 22nd, right? And if you registered, like I did, to show up for it, you will notice that the dumb Pettyons did not, of course. I think we all kind of, for those who are using a little wisdom, can see that they're not going to show up for anything. I haven't been able to watch a lot of y'all videos about this. I was having issues kind of hearing some parts of the hearing itself, but I was hoping that someone could just kind of go over exactly what was talked about. I came across a couple where you guys did talk about what was addressed, so let me help y'all out. As I said in my last video, the hearing in Canada, this OSC tribunal hearing, this is a hearing for a civil proceeding, basically. The adjudicator does not have the power to issue bench warrant orders for someone's arrest. She also does not handle lawsuits. That is a government agency. Lawsuits are always addressed in a court of law. So you can't file a lawsuit against Novatech or these dumb Pettyons to the OSC tribunal market. That's not how that works. Plus, if you're not in Canada, it will be filed based on the jurisdiction and venue to which you, the petitioner, live. So let's say if, you live in Nebraska, you want to file a lawsuit against Novatech. More than likely, it would either go to like a circuit or a superior court in your district or county where you live in Nebraska. So it wouldn't even go to an agency. It would go to a court of law. And that case would be heard in front of a judge. So I did come across one video where the lady was talking about, it's easy to understand why the OSC is not, because they're not a court, why these Pettyons aren't taking them seriously, and I wouldn't be there either. That, first of all, I don't think anybody should ever be told not to take any hearing of any matter to which they have violated a law in any country seriously. You should always take those seriously. First of all, those should always be taken seriously. Secondly, no one said that they had the authority to throw these Pettyons in jail. So the adjudicator, from what I was able to catch, had to make that clarity because people were hoping they just go to jail from there. That's not how that works. Even if you file a lawsuit, it would not be heard in any agency. It would be heard in a court of law. Now, if an agency, let's say the SEC, wanted to file a lawsuit, then the SEC would be the petitioner. And of course, the defendant would be Novatech and these dumb Pettyons. But either way, whether it's an individual person or an agency filing a lawsuit, lawsuits are heard in the court of law. The only thing that varies what type of court those cases are adjudicated before, any court, would be based on the amount and whom is filing the lawsuit and the allegation itself. So, for instance, based on the dollar amount, it might go to a small claims court, but it will still go to a court of law nonetheless and before a judge or judicial officer nonetheless. Secondly, if you are an elderly person or what the law defines to be elderly, and let's say you're claiming that they defrauded you, well, that is an actual felony as well, defrauding the elderly. If it's someone over, I think, 62 or something, and it's minimum $50,000, from my understanding, I'm not a lawyer, don't quote me, but y'all might want to look that up. It could be based on the state you live in, where that might vary, but I think it's $50,000 minimum on a federal level. That could be seen as defrauding the elderly. So that case will be handled a little differently, even though it's still a lawsuit you filed. But it will be heard in the court of law. So what's going to happen with the OSC now, they basically put an order up. If you guys haven't read that order, you need to read it and check it out, see what that's about. I read it and I understand it. Basically, it's like I said in the last video, they're going to proceed on the merits. Okay? So that means that they're going to be moving forward with the hearings, and they're going to be conducting these hearings based on the law, any agency rules for these types of proceedings, and the facts and the evidence. And I already told you all, if you read the cease and desist order from Canada, they had over 50 exhibits notated in that cease and desist order. So they will be introducing at least 50 exhibits into evidence in those, I think it's like a 3-day hearing. That's how that works. So here's why that is important to you, because I know it's hell of important to me. If you are planning on filing a lawsuit, whether you're doing it individually or in a class action lawsuit, okay, the exhibits that the OSC has will more than likely show, one, why Novatech has been and will always be a dumb Ponzi scheme. Two, it will also allow you to be able to see a foundation being laid that you can use in your lawsuit. So if you don't have a lot of evidence, people keep talking about, well, there's no evidence. Okay, well, they're going to be introducing some evidence. So that's why you need to be watching those merit hearings where they're introducing exhibits into the case as evidence. So now you can see that evidence that you goons keep asking about, these promoters talking about ain't no evidence. Okay, well, they're coming. 3 hearings coming up. And trust me, I'm not even going to lie to you all. Those types of hearings are very boring. You might want to, if you don't want to sit there and watch the whole thing, and you know you're talking about taking legal action, what you need to do is file in writing a request to be able to record the hearing up front. And you can explain, listen, I have a lawsuit that I'm preparing, or we have a class action lawsuit we're preparing. Those 50 exhibits, any evidence that you all are submitting in those hearings is coming up, I think, in April, would be very vital and crucial to help lay the foundation of this class action lawsuit. So we need permission to be able to record those hearings. That's how you do that. Or request a copy of the report where it outlines the actual evidence itself. And exhibits are entered into evidence through testimony or an affidavit. So when what testimony is basically you providing, or attesting to statements that may or may not be true. The way you do that is, let's say something happens and somebody has a car accident, all right, and you want to produce evidence in that they were under the influence. Well, you get the exhibit being the open bottle of alcohol that was in their car. Take a picture, or you get the evidence itself, the item itself. And then when you have a hearing, you introduce that exhibit of the picture or the open bottle container into the case as evidence by questioning the driver of the car about the actual item, about the evidence. That is how you present much of the evidence, the exhibits into the case as evidence, through testimony. And what they're also going to do is enter the exhibits as evidence through affidavits. Affidavits are like the equivalent of verbally making statements under oath. So in a hearing, wherever you are in a hearing, sitting down, they'll tell you, raise your right hand, you swear to tell truth, whole truth, nothing but truth, so help you God. Yes, okay, so that is you taking an oath. And on the sworn oath, now you have to answer questions and give testimony or be cross-examined, however. And if you lie, that is perjury. So an affidavit is just a written equivalent to that. Under the penalty of perjury, you're alleging that these statements are true and accurate in this affidavit. So those are 2 good ways to which exhibits are introduced into a case as evidence. Like I said, get an attorney to help you understand what's happening here. You can use Canada's exhibits that they're going to use as evidence to your advantage, in your favor. Just like with these cease and desist orders, get copies of those cease and desist orders from California and Wisconsin. Get copies of that and attach it to your lawsuit. You know, if you want to start the lawsuit, file it. And then more than likely, because these cases it takes so long to get hearings and stuff in the court of law, especially here in the U.S. But you can go ahead and file the class action, and then the evidence you have so far, you can use that as supporting documentation. Never reveal your whole hand, so don't give everything you have, because you do want to leave some to the element of surprise in a hearing. But more than likely, once you get a hearing going for like a trial of some sort, because there's a series of things that have to happen before then, but more than likely, it'll be around the time when these merit hearings are going to be concluded. And then you can get a copy of that stuff from the OSC and use that to your advantage. Now you have even more evidence to show cause as to why you should be granted, your judgment. And because they're not going to show up for the lawsuit hearing in a court of law because they've never done that. And there's precedents to prove that. And you can read the Wisconsin cease and desist order. There's at least 4 lawsuits in that, to which none of them they showed up. And those were adjudicated in the court of law before a judge. And they still didn't show up. So please let's not be ignorant about this. It doesn't matter if they're been summoned to a hearing for an agency's enforcement division or a court of law with a lawsuit. They just don't show up. They don't show up either way. And facts in these documents don't lie. These dumb peons will lie. But the facts and the evidence and the laws don't lie. So there's at least 4 lawsuits that they've had that I am aware of anyway from the Wisconsin cease and desist. It pretty much lays the foundation to who they are. That basically proves that they don't take accountability. They don't believe in being responsible at all. You know, when they steal somebody's money and they catch a lawsuit, guess what? They go duck and hide and don't show up for hearings. And those hearings, like I said, are held in court of law. So if you want a court hearing, you need to file a lawsuit. Because otherwise, it's not going to be that way, if you don't do anything. And these hearings with the OSC tribunal, no different than any other agency hearing. The SEC, the FTC, no different because they're civil proceedings. But they can be converted over to a court of law for the prosecutor or the DA to pursue criminal charges because they still broke the law no matter how you put it. They violated the cease trade order, the cease and desist orders, because they broke the law. They don't get away with doing that. No one is above the law. I don't care what country you in. You still got laws to abide by. Whether you here in the U.S., in Canada, Mexico, wherever. You still have laws to abide by. And they not playing. Yeah, they not playing. So, I will pay attention to these merit hearings that's coming up. They're 3 days, like I said, mainly because there's just so many exhibits to introduce. And that's not like a quick process that most people think. The good thing is, because these dumb pedigons are MIA, the best part about it is that they don't have, anyone from Novatech or these dumb pedigons there to object to anything being submitted as evidence. Because in a normal hearing, under normal conditions, when you're dealing with normal people, like these stupid pedigons who actually want to take some accountability and try to explain themselves, they would have had an attorney. They would have participated in these hearings, and then their attorney would have been able to object to any evidence or exhibits being admitted to evidence in the case. No one's there for the respondent, so guess what? All that is going to be submitted. And you guys can take that information and use it to help build your case if you decide to file a lawsuit, a class action lawsuit. The thing is this: closed mouths don't get fed. If you're thinking that these hearings are just nothing and you can't see the wisdom in just at least getting whatever you can out of that and at least allowing that evidence to paint a picture and to tell you how exactly they schemed and scammed you all out of y'all money, then I don't know what else to tell you if you think that that's not even worth, paying attention to. If you've been asking for somebody to prove how the Pentagon stole money from people and how it was a Ponzi scheme, well, we got 3 hearings on the merits coming up. I'm really curious to see what these 50 exhibits look like. I don't know about you all. And I have done a lot of dirt digging and fact finding and stuff. I ain't saying digging dirt because they criminals. But, I'm talking about like researching and gathering information and stuff. I have been doing that for at least 2-3 months straight. So I really want to know what kind of evidence they have on, these dumb Pentagons and stuff. And if it's 50 pieces of exhibits, I want to see it. I want to see it. So, like I said, if you guys, people keep saying that they're litigating things. First of all, that's not even the proper terminology. The Pentagons are not litigating a damn thing because they're not attorneys. They cannot litigate anything. Secondly, they don't have attorneys because if they did, where's the order of entry with the attorney name and at least the bar number? That's not privatized. That is public information. Third of all, if they were litigating anything in a court of law in the United States of America, that would be on either the judge's calendar and or the courthouse calendar, because that's also available to the public. What's the damn case number? If they're litigating something, what's the case number? You get a case number whenever you open up a case with the court. So what's the case number? What's the name of the judge? Just give me the name of the courthouse in the district, and I can take it from there. There is no case being litigated because they're not legally authorized to litigate anything. They certainly don't have an attorney. And when you bring a matter to a court, you're bringing the matter to the court in order for them to adjudicate the matter, not litigate. That's attorneys litigate. Courts adjudicate. These are things that people need to know so you can understand why these hearings aren't rendering you the results you think they should. But you also need to be smart enough to use wisdom and get what you can out of it. Get the evidence out of this. So that way nobody can say a damn thing anymore about how is this a Ponzi scheme, unless it's just a stupid bot or somebody trolling. Because now you'll be able to see that with this evidence. And in this reality, laws are laws, facts are facts, evidence are what they are, and the Pentagons are still stupid thieves that stole all y'all money. So don't let that be a deterrent, because you're missing out on the key information that you really need to help you all cope and understand what what you've been a part of by force, some of you by force. And the fact that there's evidence now that's going to be introduced to help you see the big picture from start to finish. They were always a Ponzi scheme. Now there's going to be evidence to show forth that they've always been a Ponzi scheme. That's my point. And stop praying for these stupid Pentagons to prosper. If you're a Christian, that's no different than you praying that hell cool down. The key is you shouldn't want to find out how hot hell is. You don't pray for a thief to prosper. Who does that? Child, please. Oh, Lord, I keep telling y'all. So that's what's happened. I want you guys to go on the website and read the order on the merits. They are scheduled, like I said, they have 3 days of just a hearing for the merits. I think one is like a kind of a pre-trial for that merits hearing. And then they're going to have the 3-day merits. And then the date in June 7th, or June 10th, so June date they have set next year. Where more than likely, it's either going to be an extra day if they need it, or it could be, closing arguments, stuff like that, and then just finalizing the case. But if I were you all, especially if you're seeking a lawsuit, oh yeah, I would sign up I would write the OSC, ask to be able to record, let them know what's going on. We got a class action. We need to be able to, record these proceedings, and we'll pay the price for it so that we can have that evidence that you all submitted to help build our case here in the U.S. So, if you file your lawsuit and make enough noise, then the SEC at some point has got to start listening, because, honestly, y'all might need to damn keep saying they have $2 billion, because that might be the only way they capture their attention, simply because of the dollar amount. Because otherwise, I don't know why the SEC and the FTC dragging their ass on this. When it comes to the FBI, y'all, they don't move like you think they should. You have no idea that the FBI might be making moves already. It may have been making moves for the last 2-3 good years. Okay? So you can't really determine what the FBI is doing, because they don't announce what they're doing, because they don't want the damn victim, the defendant to run away. But for, the umpteenth time, these dumb petty-ons don't have any money. If they did, y'all would have y'all's, and none of this would be a problem. It couldn't sustain because it was a Ponzi scheme. It relied on people putting money into this stupid Ponzi scheme in order for it to function. Clearly, when you take your money out and it shows that it's not self-sustaining, then the only other option to assume is that it's a Ponzi scheme. That's it. Ain't nothing else to that. So, no. Honestly, many people wish they would have showed up, but I told you all, based on precedents from their lawsuits, that they weren't going to show up, because they don't show up. They don't take accountability. They don't care. And I think Wisconsin laying out the pipeline to show the background on their behavior and how they perceive and handle these court hearings or agency hearings or whatnot. The best one is that cease and desist from Wisconsin. And it's crucial to show that foundation, because you want the courts to see, look, they don't have 4 lawsuits and they're not even going to show in front of a judge in a court of law. Of course they weren't going to show up for an agency hearing, but it doesn't mean it should be ignored. And it doesn't mean that you should not use wisdom and be smart enough to take advantage of the evidence that's going to be submitted. That's all I'm saying. So if you want to file a class action, go ahead and do it, because that's the only way you might get in front of a judge and try to bring some attention to the matter. Closed mouths don't get fed. Please stop acting as if not saying anything is going to get you your money back. She has no right or authority to hold on to y'all money if she has it. If she has your money, she still does not have the right or authority to just hold it from you all and go ghost, and nobody knows where she is. Y'all haven't heard from her in months, which I said that as well. You don't expect to hear from her again. I already knew that was going to happen, because I know I'm dealing with a thief and a fraudster here. I already know that. So I told you all that. I told you all that a few months back. Don't expect to hear from her no more. Because she knows she's guilty. She knows she stole you all's money. And this is her being a coward. She doesn't know how to come out the woodworks. There are no other cases going on in any courthouse in the U.S. for sure, because it will be on a calendar for that courthouse or the judge assigned to the case. But if you all want to bring cases in front of the judge, you're going to have to file lawsuits. Understand that they spent your money, even if you get granted your judgment or ruling in your favor, because they're not going to show up anyway. It at least helps to establish when you file taxes, you want to get some of this stuff written off, or, you want to get on the list for a fair fund or disengorgement whenever the SEC starts to act. But after a while, it's going to be hard to ignore if you get a class action with at least 5,000-10,000 people, and then you have other people just filing lawsuits all over the place against Novatech. Guess what? It's going to get hard for them to ignore. They're not going to be able to keep looking away. So like I said, some of you all done brought people into this stuff. Last thing you want to do is tell people some dumb crap and some nonsense, talking about, well, that's not legitimate. I see why they didn't show up. They can't do that to them. Well, why is that the bottom line? I said they couldn't do that to them. I said that this was a civil proceeding. If they want any criminal action to happen, if they want, someone to be arrested outside of the police arresting them, you have to get the courts involved. That means that they could take this case from the OSC and send it over to the court to have a judge, the prosecutor, initiate a case and file charges or whatnot, get an investigation going based on the evidence that the OSC is submitting and their ruling on the case itself. And then the judge can say, okay, this is enough just cause to freeze assets, seize whatever they think they got, which is nothing, and put out a warrant on their arrest and find out where they are and go bring them in. There's a process to those things, but not saying anything is delaying that damn process. So yeah, don't let these promoters tell y'all this whole stupid stuff. Half of them don't understand the difference between adjudicate and litigate. Can't tell you exactly how to prove someone has an attorney. Honestly, I wish they would go to court and fight. But they don't want to do that because they don't care and they know they stole your money. They don't have it. I don't care what website is open. That is so irrelevant, it's not even funny. See, this is why I keep saying it's easier to fool people than to tell them that they're being fooled or scammed. But when this is your mentality, it's hard to say otherwise. Don't be fooled or scammed by this crap anymore. Register for those damn hearings because you have nothing else to lose. Or file a request to have it recorded. So if you can't sit there for 3 days listening to testimony and evidence being entered, just record it. And then you can always reference it when you need it to. And get permission to do that before y'all go do that. Please don't just think you're going to record it and then that's not going to catch up to you at some point. Don't do that. It's not even worth it. Just ask for permission. It's that simple. I hope it is. Because I thought most of what I was saying was simple all this time, and I guess it's not. Because everybody keeps still saying that they litigated somewhere. They got a gag order. A gag order has to be signed by a judge. Who has the damn gag order against them? That would be a start. So if they have a gag order, what judge signed that damn gag order? Please point me in some direction where a judge is doing something against these dumb petty-odds. Otherwise, you're still saying nonsense that literally can be debunked with evidence and facts. You gotta have something in place signed by a judge in order for them to have a gag order put against them. These hearings are just as valuable as they would be if they were in a court of law, because they get to focus on the merits and focus on building this case and how they have put the exhibits together and be able to explain what these exhibits mean and what they're relaying and how you are to interpret the information in these exhibits. That's what you want. If you want to know exactly how were they a scam, go to these damn hearings. All right. So I hope you understand that Novatech is still on some dumb crap, and the buffoonery of Novatech just doesn't seem to want to damn end. But trust me, it's going to come to an end. It's going to come to an end because she can't hide forever. Some of you all have had money taken from you that, you were using to help build up to pay for college tuition, education. I've gotten a couple comments, people saying, I can't even pay for my daughter's wedding, or, I'm trying to get a house, now I can't, or just everyday bills. I think it's insensitive to tell somebody with these dumb aggressive tactics that these promoters were using, you should only invest what you can afford to lose. That's so played out and stupid, it's not even funny. I don't care if I lost $500 or $1,000, no one should. It's still your money that they have no right to take and keep and harbor. They're harboring your money. If someone can prove that they got $2 billion sitting somewhere, then they really harboring your money. And what the hell would be the reason if you got $2 billion? You all not understand how that makes, half that crap makes no damn sense on earth, in heaven, or probably in hell. It just doesn't make any sense any way you put it. So this is something that you got to get smarter. You got to get smarter. You got to be tactical. You got to develop some sort of strategy, because next year you'll at least have one full hearing concluded with evidence that actually shows how Novatech was taken and how they violated the cease and desist order, or the cease trade order, and broke the law. Now you get to see that with evidence. So yes, you should register for it and go see it or record it or something. And then get copies of that stuff once they're done. I think the OSC is pretty good about uploading motions and orders and stuff like that. But just for a copy of the full case, you might have to spend a little money to get that. But it will be more valuable to you when you decide to file a lawsuit. At least you can prove that this is a valid lawsuit, although there might not be any money to give you from the Petions or Novatech as a judgment. But you do want to bring light to the situation. And if you want something in the court of law, file a lawsuit. All right. I'm done talking. Hope y'all understand. It's very frustrating to hear people say ignorant things, and then it's like, well, why are you telling people you're not going to go to the hearing when they can take out of that the exhibits? I've been telling y'all they had 50 exhibits. Like I told you all to read their lawsuits in which they never show up for a court hearing for a lawsuit. They've lost by default because they didn't show up. So they wouldn't show up if they were in court of law or in a agency hearing. That's it. So it's stupid to even say that. And then they hide behind a bankruptcy. And I already said, the bankruptcy courts do not need to grant them any more bankruptcies, because trust me when I tell you, criminals do that when they don't want to pay out any money. They go file bankrupt. You don't believe me? Go look at what happened with Rudy Giuliani. He was ordered to pay $184 million of some sort. He goes and filed bankrupt the same day because he don't want to pay the money. He got the money. He just don't want to pay it to the victims that he did on slandered and defamed. That's the same principle that these dumb Petions do. They get ordered to pay all this money, and then they go file bankrupt, trying to hide from having to pay out this money when they're just abusing the bankrupt court and bankruptcy laws to try to avoid paying a debt. Don't let them do that. They have no reason to be given any leverage of any sort from any of you all. And I literally don't owe them that. I keep telling you all, they didn't get me. They didn't steal my money. They tried to scam my mother. It'll be the last time they even think to do that. But they certainly did not get me. All right? So y'all register for that. Try to use that as the method to get your evidence gathered. Stop listening to people talking about this is not a big deal and all this other stuff. It's just ridiculous, because those same people aren't filing lawsuits either. I don't see you doing anything to put something in front of a court of law. But if you got to file your SEC and FTC claims, get as much evidence as you can, and then you can always amend those claims. Once the merits hearing in Canada is concluded, then you can take a full copy of that report and add it to your claim with the SEC or the FTC, or you can even file one with the FBI. So use it to your advantage. All right. Merry Christmas. And I'm done.